Alright guys, so here are my notes for today. What do you think? To make this shape go on top of this one, to see if they're the same exact size, what could I do? Could I slide it? Could I flip it? I think flipping it would be close, but not quite. How about if I turned it? Now hopefully by the top of your notes, you know that we're talking about rotations today, and that's just another word for a turn. We are turning something today, or rotating something. That's why the top of your notes say rotations. Our goals for today is we're going to create a 180-degree rotation. That's going to be more important. And we're also just going to be able to recognize 90-degree rotations. I don't think they're going to ask you to create a 90-degree rotation, but they might, so I'm going to show you one of them. So the first thing we're going to talk about is some vocab words. Or what a rotation is just a transformation. Remember how we talked about there's three of them at first, in which a figure is turned. That first day we took that little whistle or whatever the heck that shape was, and I think it was number 3 where we had to turn it. The next thing we're going to talk about is a center of rotation. This is just going to be a fancy word that I don't want you to get confused on. It's not important at all. They're going to say it though, so I don't want you to get confused. For us, it's always going to be 0, 0. And what the center of rotation is the thing that we're rotating around. It's a fixed point about which the figure is rotated. Okay? For us, it's always going to be 0, 0, so don't worry about it. So whenever you see it, just know that it's not important. The thing that is important, though, is this angle of rotation. It's the angle of rotation is formed by lines drawn from the center of rotation through corresponding points. Let me show you what that means, because that's confusing. So let's look back at this first example. Obviously, you can't look at it. So if I draw a line from our center of rotation, which I always said is 0, 0, to corresponding points, that means the same exact point. So J and its image, J prime. What is this angle that is made up from J to J prime? Well, hopefully you know that that's a 90-degree angle, so therefore this is a 90-degree rotation. And it'll happen from every single point, not just J to J prime. Like if I do it from M prime to M, that's also a 90-degree angle. Or even L prime to L. That's still a 90-degree angle. Okay? So that's what angle of rotation means. Now, when we're talking about rotations, we're going to be talking about two different things. The degree of the turn. So we just talked about a 90-degree one. We're also going to be talking about 180-degree ones. Obviously, there's more than those two, but that's all we're going to talk about. And the direction that we are turning. To talk about direction, let's take a look at a couple pictures down here. When we talk about direction, if we turn to the right, so like from this one to this one, and how did I know that this is the one I should start off on? Well, hopefully you remember these little prime markers mean that this is the new one. So if I go from here to here, I'm going to the right. And that is clockwise. Okay? So if we're turning to the right, we're turning clockwise. Now a picture of the other one, here to here, going to the left is counterclockwise. And again, that's just going to be right down there too. Okay? So on the next page, I have two pictures. Why don't you guys tell me if one is clockwise or one is counterclockwise? Would you pause the video so everyone can try it? All right, hopefully that was enough time for you to pause it and for everyone to try it. Now let's check them. So which one do I have to start on down here? The top one or the bottom one? Hopefully you knew it was the bottom one. So from here to here, what am I doing? I am going that way, which is counterclockwise. And from here to here, obviously I start on this one because these do not have the primes and these ones do. And from there to there, I am going clockwise. Now, before we get into 180-degree rotations, I'll at least show you one 90-degree rotation because it's really not that hard, but it's sort of a pain. If I were to show you the actual way to do this, there's actually formulas for these. They're super confusing because there's a different one for clockwise and a different one for counterclockwise. So what I would like everyone to do right now is I would like everyone to take their piece of paper and rotate it 90 degrees counterclockwise, just like this paper says. So 90 degrees counterclockwise. And what I'm going to do, I couldn't rotate my whole entire paper, but I can rotate this graph. So counterclockwise is going to be going back this way. So I'm going to rotate this counterclockwise. Make sure all of you do the same thing that I'm doing. Does everyone see how that works? So that is what it should look like. Which means what I'm going to do is I'm going to just rotate my paper and I'm going to create a little table off to the side with A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend, even though that these numbers don't say that this thing is, I'm going to pretend that this is quadrant 3. And I'm going to say, okay, well, A in quadrant 3, this would be -7, comma, -9. So my first coordinate is -7, comma, -9. And I'm just going to write that off on the side of my paper. Because then I'm just going to rotate it back at the very end and then just plot these points. So now B prime, to me, looks like -7, comma, -1. C prime looks like -2, comma, -3. And D prime, again, -2, comma, -7, it looks like. So now that I've gotten all my points, I can rotate my paper back. I'm going to erase all this junk that I had on here before. And I'm just going to plot these points that I just made. So now that I have these points, let's graph them. I have A prime is -7, -9. So -7, comma, -9 is going to be down here. So there's my A prime. B prime is -7, comma, -1, which is right here. There's my B prime. C prime is -2, comma, -3. So there's my C prime. And then D prime is -2, comma, -7. Hopefully you guys see that this is the same exact size shape after I connect these lines. Make sure that everything is all labeled correctly. And that is how you rotate something 90 degrees. So just to review, all you do is you rotate your paper, how they say, and make a little table off to the side with your new values. Okay? Now, 180 degrees, I think they'll ask you to do. I think they'll actually ask you to draw this. And on our tests and stuff, we're going to do this a lot more. Let me show you what happens here. Instead of filling this out, I'm going to show you on the picture first. You just stay on that one picture. So I'm going to rotate this thing 180 degrees. When I do that, there's 90, and there's 180. Okay? So when I do that now, obviously this is going to be my J prime. This is going to be M prime, L prime, and K prime. So I got a little lost right there. So let's see if we can figure out what we got to do to rotate something 180 degrees. Right now, J prime is -2, -2. And K prime is -5, comma, -2. Do I see any pattern going on here? How about L prime? L prime to me looks like it's -5, comma, -4. And M prime is -2, comma, -5. So what do you guys think the rule is to rotate something 180 degrees? Hopefully you have the eyesight to see that all we did is make everything here negative. Now it's not always just making it negative. If it already is negative, you're going to change it to be a positive. So basically you're just changing the sign on the number. So to rotate a point 180 degrees or about the origin, multiply each coordinate by -1. same whether you rotate the figure clockwise or counterclockwise. I'm just going to put CC. So XY turns into negative X, negative Y. Okay? So let's do it here. Let's rotate this thing 180 degrees. So what you should do first is figure out what the coordinates are. So for A, I have negative 9, comma 7. Negative 9, comma 7. For B, I have negative 1, comma 7. For C, I have negative 3, comma 2. And then for D, I have negative 7, comma 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate each one of these points 180 degrees. And like we just learned right here, all you got to do to rotate something 180 degrees is make both of the things negative. So, or is make both of the numbers negative, or just change the sign on the number. So A prime is going to turn into positive 9, comma negative 7. So now let's graph that. Positive 9 is right here, comma negative 7 is down here. Boom. A prime. B prime, instead of being negative 1, comma 7, is going to be positive 1, comma negative 7. So positive 1, comma negative 7. That is B prime. C prime is going to be positive 3, comma negative 2. Positive 3, comma negative 2. And D prime is going to be positive 7, comma negative 2. So positive 7, comma negative 2. And again, hopefully you guys can see that, I forgot C prime. Hopefully you guys can see that this is the same exact shape, just rotated 180 degrees. Let's draw the lines to actually make the shape now. And that's it, guys. Isn't that one really, really easy? Alright, so now let's flip the page. I'm going to do it again one more time. Example 2, plot those points. So A is 1, 1. B is 5, 1. C is 3, 4. And if you get one like this, it's actually pretty nice because they already gave you the points. So you don't really even need to make a table of A, B, and C. All you need to do is make A prime, B prime, and C prime off on the side. So A prime is just going to be negative 1, comma negative 1. Negative 1, comma negative 1. B prime is just going to be negative 5, comma negative 1. So B prime, negative 5, comma negative 1. C prime is just going to be negative 3, comma negative 4. And now C prime is negative 3, negative 4, so negative 3, comma negative 4. C prime. So now that I have this, all I got to do is connect these 3 points, and I have the same exact triangle. Okay? Why don't you guys try this one, pause the video, last thing we got to do, and then some final thoughts, and that's it. So pause the video, everyone, so you have a chance to try it, and unpause when everyone's all done. All right, so let's do this. 4, 6. So 4, 6 is A. B is 6, 2. There's B. And C is 2, 2. C. Let's connect these 3. What we're going to do is we're going to rotate this triangle 180 degrees. So my new A prime is going to be negative 4, comma negative 6. So A prime, negative 4, comma negative 6. B prime is going to be negative 6, comma negative 2. Negative 6, comma negative 2. And then C prime, color, is going to be negative 2, comma negative 2. And don't forget to label. All right, guys, and that's it. That's all for today. So just remember, you have have to be able to see a 90-degree rotation, and you have to be able to make a 180-degree rotation by just changing the signs on each one of the coordinates. Okay? So down here, some final thoughts. Clockwise is when we turn to the right. Counterclockwise is when we turn to the left. When the problem asks you to do a 180-degree rotation, you just change the signs on all the points on the shape. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching.